In a world where people judge what they don't understand, one woman's silence shook an entire city. When a tall, elegant black trans woman walked into a luxury boutique, whispers followed her like shadows. Laughter echoed behind her as clerks mocked her appearance, unaware that the person they humiliated wasn't just another customer. She was the invisible owner of everything around them. That day, hate met its mirror, and truth became louder than cruelty. This is the story of Ariana Cole, a woman who turned humiliation into history and made her name a symbol of black trans power. Ariana Cole walked into the glass doors of Maison Lure, the city's most exclusive fashion boutique. Her walk was graceful, confident, yet every step carried the weight of 1,000 judgments. The clerk at the counter, a young blonde woman with a forced smile, exchanged a knowing look with her co-worker. Their whispers weren't quiet enough. Ma'am, can I help you?" the clerk said, stressing each word like it was an insult disguised as service. A few customers nearby laughed softly, pretending to browse the perfumes. Ariana's chest tightened, but her face remained calm, elegant even in humiliation. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she walked toward a shimmering gold dress displayed under a spotlight. Its tag read $7,500. The clerk followed her, smirking. "That one might not be your type," she said, emphasizing your. Ariana finally looked at her. Her eyes, deep and composed, carried years of quiet storms. "Tell me," Ariana asked softly, "do you say that to every customer who walks in? Or only to the ones you think don't belong?" The store fell silent. A few heads turned. The manager peeked out from the office, sensing tension. The clerk froze, stammering something about store policy. Ariana smiled faintly and set the dress down. "I'll come back tomorrow," she said, walking out slowly. What they didn't know was that Ariana wasn't just a customer. The boutique, the jewelry shop next door, and the entire marble-floored mall were part of her company's real estate portfolio. Tomorrow wouldn't be a shopping trip. It would be Judgment Day. The next morning, the sun rose behind the skyline of downtown Atlanta, but inside Maison Lure, the atmosphere was heavy. The same clerk, Chloe, scrolled through her phone, half asleep at the counter. She didn't recognize the sleek black car that stopped outside the store, nor did she notice the suited security guards who entered first, scanning the floor with practiced precision. Then came Ariana. But today, she wasn't wearing the casual sundress from yesterday. She wore a tailored black suit, diamond cufflinks, and confidence that demanded silence. Her long braids fell neatly against her blazer, and behind her walked 3 executives holding tablets. Chloe's smile returned, but it trembled slightly. Welcome back," she said. Do you have an appointment?" Ariana didn't respond. She simply looked around, at the perfume shelves, the gold dress still hanging untouched, and the same whispers that had once mocked her. Then she turned to her assistant, a tall man with silver glasses. "Make sure the staff gathers," Ariana said. Her tone was soft but absolute. "All of them." Within minutes, the manager appeared, red-faced, sweating. "Ma'am, what's going on? We weren't informed of—" "You will be," Ariana interrupted, pulling out a thin folder from her bag. "I'm Ariana Cole, CEO of Cole Urban Holdings, owner of this mall." The words hit like thunder. Chloe's lips parted, her eyes wide in disbelief. The laughter that filled the store yesterday vanished into silence so deep you could hear the hum of the air conditioner. Ariana placed the folder on the counter. "You see, I bought this property 3 years ago," she said calmly, "and I visit once every few months to observe customer service. Yesterday I learned something about your definition of service." Chloe tried to speak, but Ariana raised a hand. Don't explain. You had your moment. The assistant began distributing letters to each employee, official notices from corporate headquarters. Chloe's hands trembled as she read hers. Suspension pending internal review for discrimination and misconduct. Ariana didn't gloat. She didn't shout. She simply looked at them with a quiet strength that spoke louder than rage. I know what it feels like, she said softly. To be laughed at for being different. To walk into rooms where people whisper your name like it's a mistake. But let me tell you something. She paused, eyes locked on Chloe. Every person you look down on might just be the one writing your paycheck. The manager lowered his head. A few customers stood frozen, phones recording, realizing they were witnessing something rare, poetic justice unfolding in real time. Ariana turned toward the same gold dress that had sparked the incident. She lifted it gently from the rack. This, she said, is a beautiful piece. But beauty loses meaning when the people selling it don't see beauty in others. She placed her black credit card on the counter. I'll buy it. Not because I need it, but because I want to remind you, class isn't stitched in fabric. It's in how you treat people. As she walked out, cameras flashed from stunned onlookers. Within hours, the video hit social media. Trans woman shuts down racist boutique staff. Turns out she owns them all. The clip racked up millions of views overnight. Comments poured in, some in awe, others in tears. This gave me chills. One read, she didn't just walk out with a dress, she walked out with dignity. But Ariana wasn't done yet. What no one knew was that she had one more meeting that afternoon, a boardroom full of executives who had also underestimated her for years. That meeting would change everything. By noon, the glass tower of Cole Urban Holdings shimmered above Atlanta's skyline, Ariana's empire. Inside the boardroom on the 47th floor, 12 executives sat waiting, their murmurs low, nervous. Most of them had already seen the viral clip. Ariana standing tall in that same store, exposing bigotry with quiet power. When she entered, silence swept the room. Her presence carried authority, not forced, not loud, but the kind that made people sit straighter, unsure of how to breathe. Good afternoon, she began, setting down her leather folder. I assume you've all seen what happened yesterday. No one answered. A few nodded hesitantly. Ariana pressed play on the large screen behind her. The video played, muted, showing the boutique scene, the smirks, the confrontation, and finally her calm declaration of ownership. When the clip ended, she turned slowly toward them. This, she said, isn't just about a rude employee. It's about what happens when a culture of prejudice grows unchecked, even in our own institutions. A grey-haired board member cleared his throat. With respect, Miss Cole, the store was managed by a franchise operator, not directly by us. The discrimination was unfortunate, but— Unfortunate? Ariana interrupted, her eyes narrowing. That's how you define humiliation in public. That's how you define years of being mocked for who you are. The man lowered his gaze. The room stayed silent. Ariana walked to the window, looking down at the city below, the place that had once rejected her, now built by her name. When I started this company, she continued softly, banks refused to give me loans. Investors said I was too different to lead a real estate empire, and yet, here we are. She turned back. Do you know what's worse than open hate? Subtle tolerance, the kind that smiles in meetings but whispers in corridors. That's what rots institutions from the inside. Her assistant stepped forward, placing a new report on the table. These, Ariana said, are internal complaints from LGBTQ+ employees across our branches, ignored, buried, or dismissed for years. Yesterday's video isn't an isolated case. It's a mirror. The executives shifted uncomfortably. The air thickened with guilt and fear. "I don't want apologies," Ariana said. "I want change." She tapped the folder. "Effective immediately, every Cole Urban Holdings property will undergo inclusion and sensitivity retraining. Any manager found enabling discrimination, even silently, will be replaced." The room buzzed. One of the directors whispered, "This could cost millions." Ariana smiled faintly. So does silence. Then she leaned forward, her voice dropping to a calm but deadly tone. "And to anyone who thinks this is about politics, understand something. I'm not doing this to prove a point. I'm doing it because the people we ignore today might be the ones saving our brand tomorrow." No one dared respond. Even the senior VP, a man known for dominating discussions, simply nodded, his arrogance gone. Ariana turned to her assistant. "Issue a public statement. I want it clear. Cole Urban Holdings stands for dignity, not hypocrisy." "Yes, ma'am." As she gathered her papers, one young woman from HR, who had remained silent the whole time, spoke softly. "Miss Cole," she said, her voice trembling, "I just wanted to say thank you. I'm like you." Ariana paused, meeting her eyes. In that quiet moment, two lives, different yet bound by the same scars, recognized each other. "You don't owe me thanks," Ariana replied gently. "Just promise me this. Don't shrink yourself to fit rooms that weren't built for you. Build your own." The young woman smiled through tears. As Ariana walked out, cameras flashed again in the lobby. News headlines were already spreading. Ariana Cole's bold response to boutique scandal, corporate overhaul announced. By evening, talk shows debated her actions. Some praised her courage, others called her too political. But Ariana didn't care. At home, she stood before a mirror. No makeup, no armor, just herself. The reflection staring back wasn't just a CEO, or a trans woman, or a symbol. It was the girl who once cried in a public restroom because the world refused to see her truth. Now the world couldn't look away. She whispered to her reflection, "They tried to erase me. I became unforgettable." Days turned into weeks, yet the video of Ariana in the boutique continued to spread like wildfire. Clips flooded TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Activists praised her composure, women quoted her lines in reels, and news anchors replayed her words. Class isn't stitched in fabric, it's in how you treat people. Her calm defiance became a symbol, not just for the black or transgender community, but for anyone who had ever been laughed at for simply existing. Within the mall, the once arrogant staff now worked under new management, a diverse team trained to understand empathy, not just etiquette. Chloe, the clerk who had mocked Ariana, requested to meet her after weeks of silence. At first, Ariana refused. She didn't need closure from the people who once humiliated her. But something in her heart, that same compassion that had kept her human through all the pain, made her agree. They met in the same store, now redesigned, brighter, warmer. Chloe stood nervously, clutching a letter. Her eyes were red, her voice shaky. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. What I did, it wasn't just ignorance, it was fear. You walked in proud of who you are, and I couldn't handle that kind of strength." Ariana looked at her for a long moment. The memory of laughter still lingered like a ghost between them. "You know," Ariana said softly, "forgiveness isn't a gift you ask for. It's one you earn by becoming better than who you were yesterday." Chloe nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I've been taking classes," she whispered. "LGBTQ studies, race relations. I want to do better." Ariana placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Then start there," she said. "The world doesn't change when we shout louder. It changes when people who once stayed silent finally start to listen." The two women stood there, a strange peace settling between them. For the first time, Ariana felt the burden of yesterday lift slightly from her chest. Later that month, Ariana was invited to speak at Howard University, addressing a crowd of young black students, many of them queer, trans, or fighting their own battles of belonging. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation as she stepped onto the stage, the same gold dress she once held now shining under the spotlight. "When I was younger," she began, "I used to think power meant proving people wrong. But I've learned something deeper. True power is staying kind in a world that taught you cruelty." The students listened, some crying quietly. "Every insult, every door slammed in your face. It's not a sign that you're less," she continued. "It's proof that the world isn't ready for your greatness. But you must be." The audience erupted in applause. Her speech went viral again, but this time not as scandal, as inspiration. Brands reached out for partnerships, documentaries were proposed, but Ariana turned most down. She didn't want fame, she wanted focus. She established a new foundation, the Cole Initiative for Dignity and Equality, aimed at helping black transgender youth find housing, education, and jobs. In a quiet moment one night, Ariana sat by her window, city lights glowing beneath her. Her assistant entered and placed an envelope on her desk, a handwritten note from one of the boutique's new interns. "Because of you, Miss Cole, I walked into work today as my true self, without fear." Ariana smiled. The note meant more than any headline. She turned off her lamp, whispering to the darkness, "I wasn't made to fit in. I was made to break the mold." The camera fades to black as her reflection disappears, replaced by the text on screen. "For every black trans soul fighting for respect, remember your existence itself is resistance.